Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. This is Magic World Championship weekend, and the event is having some impact on standard card prices, but the bigger card price trends continue to be sparked by the new commander builds that are circulating out there. You're going to see all of that and much more in today's video. Also, the market is showing a little more activity this week compared to the last few months, so I did raise the threshold for this video to $3. We're not going to talk about any card unless it's moving at least $3 up or down today. Quickly before we get into the details though, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pre-order Innistrad Crimson Vow products there, plus they have a whole lot of other things on their website. Remember, if your order is over $100 or consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. And whenever you use that promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated. So thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. We'll begin, as we always do, with the Standard Legal Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that are Standard Legal moving the most this week, and we have 3 that are going up in value to discuss. First is Alrund's Epiphany. This goes up $4.12 to $17.40. Now, this has been a big card in the Magic World Championship standard decks. 10 out of the 16 standard decks are running this, as a matter of fact. They include things like Izzet and Grixis Epiphany, of course, but also Izzet Dragons and Azorius Tempo. Outside of the tournament, this is in some other decks too in standard. Bant Ramp, Azorius Control, Sultai Festival, Izzet Delver, plus it is showing up in a number of commander builds too. Next, we have the Meathook Massacre at $4.78 to $43.49. This is not in any of the World Championship decks, but it is seeing a fair amount of standard play out there in the wild. It's in decks like Orzhov Midrange, Dimir Control, Sultai Festival, and Golgari Ramp. This is also in a number of commander builds old and new, including the popular Will Help the Rockcleaver decks. And of course, as you can imagine, this would be a good upgrade to Undead Unleashed out of the box as well. Additionally, it did get a Command Zone podcast mention this week too, that could have brought some attention to it. And finally, for this section, we have Ranger Class. This has been hot recently, going up another $4.93 this week to $13.99. 4 of the 16 Magic World Championship standard decks are running this one. It's in Mono Green Aggro and Teamer Treasures there. Outside of the tournament, though, this is also in standard Gruul Werewolves. Pioneer, this is in Mono Green Ramp, Mono Green Company, sometimes Naya Midrange. Plus, it is seeing a huge surge in commander play now in Tovolar Dire Overlord / Tovolar the Midnight Scourge decks. That takes us to the Pioneer Legal Spotlight. A couple cards going up in value here. We have the Scarab God. The Hour of Devastation copy is up $3.70 to $40. The Double Masters copy is up $4.73 to $39.94. So this is in Pioneer Niv to Light, but of course this is really moving now because of the zombie tribal support that came out of Innistrad Midnight Hunt. It is a popular commander for zombie tribal and part of the 99 of many builds too. And as you can imagine, a lot of players are picking this up to upgrade the new Undead Unleashed commander deck, or others are grabbing this to build a fresh deck around Wilhelt. Shulane, Teller of Tales. Now this is the copy from the list only found during Zendikar Rising. It goes up in theory $5.16 to $16.50. We have talked about this card in the past. You might remember it was the target of some egregious market manipulation not too long ago. Now it is settling down, but this price is still inflated, so don't be fooled by it. Simply, there's just not a lot of copies online, and there are sellers asking for very high prices still, maybe based off that crazy manipulation we saw a while back. Now, when it comes to gameplay, this did recently rotate out of standard, but it wasn't seeing a whole lot of play there when it rotated or anything like that. However, it is known for being a very popular commander and part of the 99 of some builds there too. And that brings us to the Modern Legal Spotlight. First, we have some cards going down in value and then some going up in value. First, we have the original Windswept Heath from Onslaught. It goes down $3.78 this week to $79.99. And these Onslaught fetch lands have become a little turbulent recently. This one is going down, but you will see a couple others going up later in the video. They did get hot initially when Time Spiral Remastered came out and players became interested in retro frames again. Then they started to cool off until Modern Horizons 2 came out, shook up the modern format, and then players had to build new decks and they started picking up new mana bases. These heated up again, but now they're trying to find their true price point going forward. This, like most fetches, we'll see play in Modern, Legacy, Vintage, and in Commander builds old and new. Blood Moon, the copy from 9th edition retracts a little bit after some recent increases. This is down $4.10 this week to $26.45. but there is another copy going up in value. You're going to see that shortly. Now, when it comes to gameplay, this is getting a ton of modern play in both main decks and sideboards. You're going to find this in Is It Tempo, Crashing Footfalls, Is It Control, Goblins, Eldrazi, Mono Red Aggro, Gruul Midrange, Charbelcher, and Enchantress. This also continues to see a lot of legacy play and a good amount of commander play in various builds, and it's even in some of those Commander Tovolar builds now. Cabal Coffers, the copy from Plane Chase goes down $4.35 this week to $34.98, but again, there's another copy of this going up in value, so these cards are trying to find their price point. This was reprinted not too long ago in Modern Horizons 2, that did make the card modern legal, but it really hasn't seen much play there. Basically, all that did is get more copies in the marketplace for the Commander players that really want them. This is a huge card in that format. You'll find it in builds old and new. It's a good upgrade to Undead Unleashed. It's also good in fresh Wilhelt decks, as you can imagine. Plus, it's in some other Commander builds around new cards. Gisa Glorious Resurrector, and Jaren Corrupted Bishop / Ormondal the Corruptor. Master of the Wild Hunt, the copy from Magic 2010 goes down $4.62 to $23.67. Now, this was added to the list with Midnight Hunt. Also, this copy's been spiking pretty aggressively recently, more so than the other copies, which is why I think you're seeing this retraction now. It is getting more commander play now in some of those Tovolar builds. I've also seen this in some of the Sarth the Viper's Fane commander decks too. Our first card going up today in this section is Mystic Gate. It's up $10.42 to $39.99. Now, this is the Shadowmoor copy. We have been seeing the Double Masters copy getting hot recently, but this is the one that's been jumping over the last 2 weeks. In Modern, you're going to find this in Jeskai Control, Reanimator, and Azorius Yorion. Plus, it is a solid commander mana-based card as well. Child of Alara from Conflux, up $10.69 this week to $18.22. Very popular commander. And last week, the Commander's Quarters made a video showcasing a 99 land commander deck. Guess who the commander was? No, it was Child of Alara. Savage Beating is back again, up $10.82 this week to $54.99. It has seen increased commander play in Tovolar builds, but it may see even more play in future vampire decks when Innistrad Crimson Vow and the commander deck Vampiric Bloodline come out. Here's that other copy of Blood Moon I was alluding to earlier. It is the original from the Dark, up $11.72 to $99.19. Now, this has been losing value in recent months, but this week it sees a big rebound. Solitude is next. This is a huge Modern card right now. It's showing up everywhere. It's up $13.23 to $39.97. You'll find this in Jeskai Control, 5-color elementals, and much more in the Modern format. Legacy, it's in Death and Taxes and more there. It even gets a little vintage play, and it has been a fairly popular commander card in a number of different builds as well. Finally, in this section, we have Flusterstorm, the original copy from Commander. It is up $20.80 to $54.97. Now, this particular copy of the card is a little dry this week online, which is why it's jumping this much. But it does see a ton of Modern sideboard play in various builds right now. Typically, it's brought in against Cascade decks or other matchups with less creatures. This also continues to see a lot of Legacy, Vintage, and Commander play in many different builds as well. And that takes us to the Vintage Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that see play in Legacy, Vintage, 93, 94, or cards that are just popular among collectors. Remember, there is still market manipulation happening in that vintage market, nowhere near as much as we were seeing a number of months ago, which is good news, but it still does occur, so be careful when you're making purchases. The prices you're going to see on the screen in this section are going to be reminiscent of something you might see on a price tracking website. Remember, when we're talking about older, more iconic vintage cards, a lot of them are graded nowadays, so the price you see many times falls between a high-grade raw copy and a high-grade graded copy. But as we go through the cards today, if I see something that doesn't feel like it's lining up with recent sales, I'll let you know. Recurring Nightmare. This goes up $4.51 this week to $64. It is banned in Commander, but it is on the reserve list, and a lot of collectors are always looking for these in high grade. City of Traders. This is up $9.26 to $326.99. Now, this one does see a lot of legacy play. It's in Sneak and Show, Goblins, Karn Echoes, and much more. Additionally, this shows up in some Commander decks at times, including a new one, Old Stick Fingers. Plateau from Revised is up $9.40 this week to $349.99. You'll see a number of these revised dual lands moving again this week. My J Jin from Arabian Nights is up $10.24 this week to $106.24. Mox Diamond from Stronghold up $12.12 to $650. This is in Legacy lands as well as Knight of the Reliquary. Plus, it gets a good amount of Commander play, and this is another card you might see in some old Stick Fingers builds. Tundra from Revised up $14.44 to $569.99. Volcanic Island from Revised up 1483 to 835.99. Third verse, same as the first. Savannah from Revised up 1499 to 406.08. Chromium from Legends is up 2136 to 139.99. Bayou from Revised up 2145 to 549.95. Flying Carpet from Arabian Nights is up 24.99 to 110.49. Blaze of Glory from Unlimited up 25.50 to 177.45. Taiga from Revised up 26.82 to 448.95. Shivan Dragon from Unlimited up 27.60 to 255. King Suleiman, this is up 36.72 to 251. Copy Artifact from Unlimited up 38.97 to $355. Stasis from Unlimited up 44.91 to 229.97. Now this does combo with a new card for Innistrad Midnight Hunt. That is Teferi, who slows the sunset, and some players are even using this combo in Legacy. We'll have to see if that can catch on. On top of that, the Command Zone podcast mentioned this as a card you might want to play with this new Teferi. Although usually these unlimited price movements have little to do with gameplay, it's more about collectors here. In this example, the easier to find copies haven't really moved much. Aladdin from Arabian Nights, it's up 47.24 to 199.99 this week. Sorceress Queen from Arabian Nights is up 59.38 to 249.99. Winter Orb, this is the copy from Unlimited, and here's another card that plays well with Teferi, who slows the sunset, and it did get a Command Zone mention for doing so as well. It goes up $60.02 to $232.07. Elephant Graveyard up 67.99 to 524.98. Sunglasses of Urza from Unlimited up 79.49 to 157.47. Word of Command from Unlimited up $80 and a cent to $540. Brain Geyser from Unlimited up $86.80 to $324.99. Mishra's Factory, a couple copies here. The Antiquity Summer variant is up $19 to $149.84. The Antiquities Winter variant is up $180.58 to $999.97. Is that one for real though? That's a pretty big jump. Well, I have seen high-grade raw copies sell for about $590, but I have not seen any high-grade graded copies sell for a while. It is possible next time one does, it could get close to this price. Next is Island of Wak Wak up $265.33 to $2,260.32. Is that for real? Well, this price is closer to what you might expect to pay for a high-grade graded copy. High-grade raws sell for about $425. Moat, this is up $275.01 this week to $2,025. And finally in this section, we have Mox Ruby from Unlimited going up $2,239 to $9,000. Is this legit? Well, when it comes to Power 9, most of the time these jumps you see back and forth have more to do with the grade of the copies for sale that week, as opposed to anything else. However, I will say high-grade raw copies of this have sold for about $4,500. I have not seen a high-grade graded copy sell for a little while. In the future, one could go for close to this, perhaps. And that takes us to the Commander Spotlight. All the cards in this section are moving, at least in part because of Commander, although there could be other influences as well. Allosaurus Shepherd, this is up $3 to $73.42. This is a solid Commander card in Elf builds and more, plus it's in Legacy Elves. Dockside Extortionist, what can we say about this card we have not said in the past? It is a huge Commander card and combo enabler in many different builds, old and new. It truly has become a staple in the format. It goes up $307 this week to $64.48. Parallel Lives from Innistrad up $316 to $53.77. This is an interesting one. We found out this week it's going to be reprinted as a Judge Foil, and those Judge Foils don't add a lot of inventory to the secondary market. So when that news broke, I think a lot of players thought, okay, if it's getting reprinted there, it's not going to be reprinted in a broader way for a while. And they started picking up this card. I do think some were holding out hope that it could show up in Crimson Vow as like a box topper, maybe show up in the list or even a Commander product or some other product in the future. But at this price point, it is going to be more difficult for Wizards to find a product to put it in. Maybe you'll see it in something like Double Masters next year. Who knows? Time will tell. But right now, this is going up in value. Of course, token strategies remain popular in Commander, and this is a great option for many builds. It's in Chatterfang, Squirrel General, and much more. Here's that other copy of Cabal Coffers I promised you. It is the Torment one, up $333 to $37.96. Scalding Tarn, the copy from Modern Masters 2017, is up $421 this week to $48.76. So this is another fetch land, this time going up in value, and this time it is an enemy one. Some of these enemy fetches are starting to stabilize and move up again after the recent losses they took due to the reprinting in Modern Horizons 2. This one in particular, though, seems to be getting more play in Commander, Modern, Legacy, and Vintage because of the direction those metas have gone, and that is why you're seeing such a strong rebound here this week. For example, I see a lot of Commander players building around a new legendary Griskus creature from Midnight Hunt, Lind, Cheerful Tormentor. Mana Vault, the copy from Ultimate Masters, goes up $4.37 this week to $99.97. Popular Commander card and combo enabler in a number of different builds, including Urza Lord High Artificer. This is getting additional Commander play now in old Stick Fingers builds, and it even sees Vintage play as well. On top of all that, it did get a Command Zone podcast mention too, as another card that plays well with Teferi, who slows the sunset. Chrome Mox from Eternal Masters up 442 to 6620. Another solid Commander card in a lot of different decks, like Urza Lord High Artificer again. And another card you might see in some of these old Stick Fingers decks now too. On top of that, it sees Legacy play in the Epic Storm, Goblins, and much more. Mana Crypt, a couple copies here. Eternal Masters up 342 to 157.05. Double Masters goes up 476 to 151.99. Not too long ago, game stores received some convention mystery booster boxes from Wizards. Since this is in that set, prices for these cards have cooled off a little bit recently, but now they are bouncing back, as you can see. This is another popular Commander card in many builds, old and new. Also gets Vintage play, and it did get a Command Zone podcast mention this week, as well as a card you might want to search up with Moon Silver Key. Volrath Stronghold up 488 this week to 119.74. This is a solid Commander card. I have seen this in some new builds, namely Jaren and Wilhelt, plus it is a good upgrade to Undead Unleashed. Cavern of Souls, the original from Abyss and Restored, is up $5.01 to 89.57. So this did join the list with Kaldheim. It's still sticking around even into Innistrad Midnight Hunt. However, this is a very highly played card in multiple formats. There's always going to be demand on it. Let's start off by talking about Commander. You know it sees a ton of play there. It is seeing more play now in Tovolar builds. Also a good upgrade to Undead Unleashed, and other players are adding this to fresh Wilhelt decks too. And remember, there's going to be more support for various tribes coming with Innistrad Crimson Vow. Vampires especially, and I mentioned earlier the Vampiric Bloodline Commander deck comes out with that product. There's also a deck called Spirit Squadron coming out with that product. In Modern, this is in 5-color Elementals, Amulet Titan, Eldrazi Tron Humans builds, Goblins, Eldrazi, Spirits, Merfolk, Zombies. Beyond all that, this continues to get a lot of play in Legacy as well. Huntmaster of the Fells from Dark Ascension. This goes up $5.30 this week to $39.28. And of course it is moving because of the Werewolf and Wolf tribal support from Midnight Hunt, and it is showing up in Commander Tovolar decks. Undead Warchief from Planechase up $5.32 this week to $18.50. Solid Zombie Lord moving because of the new zombie support. Another good upgrade to Undead Unleashed, or something to put in a fresh Wilhelt build. Bloodstained Mire from Onslaught up $5.38 this week to $98.99. And this is one of the Onslaught fetch lands that is rebounding some. It does happen to fit into Commander Lind Cheerful Tormentor builds. City of Shadows up $5.60 to $99.49. Now this does get a little Commander play, but it was a target of a pretty public buyout recently. Force of Will, the copy from Double Masters, goes up $5.78 this week to $117.86. This is a Commander, Legacy, and Vintage staple. It is found in many different builds. Lord of the Undead, I bet you can't guess why this one's going up. No, you're right this time. It is because of the zombie support from Innistrad Midnight Hunt. This is seeing more Commander play now, obviously. Great upgrade to Undead Unleashed. Another card to add to a fresh Wilhelt build. Plane Shift goes up $6.14 to $24.68. And 9th edition is up $6.36 to $23.99. Phyrexian Altar, Ultimate Masters up $6.52 to $83.15. The Invasion copy up $6.69 to $83.28. This is a great Commander card and combo enabler in various builds. But now, you guessed it, a lot of players are adding this to Undead Unleashed or putting it in fresh Wilhelt decks. Plus, I've seen this in Commander Eloise Nephalia Sleuth too. And on top of that, it did get a Command Zone mention as a card you might want to play with Ghoulish Procession or search up with Moon Silver Key. Lich Lord of Onyx. Okay, you know the drill by now. It's a zombie, it's going up in value, Undead Unleashed, Wilhelt the Rock Cleaver, so on and so forth. The copy from the list, which did come out with Midnight Hunt, goes up $3.95 to $21.09. And the Alara Reborn copy is up $6.90 to $25.99. Ren 6 from Modern Horizons up $7.11 to $120. Now this was on the list, but it did leave after Kjell time. However, Wizards did announce Double Masters 2022 not long ago, and when they did, they showed art from this card, so it looks like it's getting a reprint. With that being said, though, this card sees so much play that there's a lot of players that just can't wait for that set to come out. They need these for certain decks. First off, it gets commander play in land-centric builds and more. It is banned in Legacy, but it does get a little Vintage and a lot of Modern play. In Modern, you'll find this in Lurrus Jund, Indomitable Creativity, 4-color Yorion, Regular Jund, Niv to Light, Gruul Midrange, and Scapeshift. Here's another Onslaught fetch land moving up in value. This is Polluted Delta. Maybe not a coincidence that this fits into a couple popular commander builds. Wilhelt the Rock Cleaver, as well as Lyn Cheerful Tormentor. This is up $7.41 this week to $113.76. Noxious Ghoul, it's another zombie. It plays well with zombies. I don't think I have to tell you what's going on here. Moving for all the reasons we previously discussed. Legions is up $7.20 to $12.99. The copy from the list, it did join with Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, sticking around into Innistrad Midnight Hunt. It's going up $8.41 to $19.89. And finally, the Plane Chase copy is up $11.47 to $17.22. And finally, in this section, we have Dream Halls up $19.46 to $71.22. This is seeing increased competitive commander play in Tiamat builds. It is part of some infinite combos worked into those decks. Since it is a reserve list card, it did spike especially hard with the additional attention. And that takes us to the premium spotlight, and I say this every week, but there's always a ton of premium cards spiking all the time. Sometimes it's the result of a targeted buyout. Other times the card dries up a little bit in the marketplace naturally. However, every week I like to pick out a couple of cards to turn your attention to that are moving because of more natural reasons. Maybe they're getting more gameplay, or perhaps there was a preview card that pushed them, something along those lines. Also remember, the prices you see on the screen in this section are going to be very similar to what you might see on a price tracking website, kind of like we did in the vintage section. But again, if true sales are not lining up, I'll let you know. We got 2 cards to look at today. Noxious Ghoul, the foil copy from Legions, is up $15.71 to $52.96 in theory. Is this for real? Well, I have seen these sell for almost $30 in high grade, but with the non-foil copies spiking the way they are, cheap copies have completely disappeared and sellers are putting the prices up. Will they sell for this price point? I guess time will tell. And finally, we have the foil copy of Ren 6 from Modern Horizons. This is up $47.49 to $469.99. Long story short, yeah, I have seen these sell for this price point in high grade. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. If you're still with me, thanks for being here. As always, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.